Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm perfectly audible. So let's start with today's session now. Today is 15th of June 2026, and we have few very important news items that we'll be discussing in today's analysis. And to start with, we have the first important summit that we'll be discussing today. So let's start now. Let's start now. So this is the first news item that we have to discuss. Indian Prime Minister is visiting India, and he's in France from 14th to 16th of June 2026. He landed in France on 14th of June 2026, and he'll be there till 16th, and then he will participate in the G7 summit. He was invited as a special invitee in the G7 summit. So that is one important aspect that we have to take into consideration. But as of now, there are two important points in this particular summit that we have to discuss. And to start with, we have India and France adopted innovation roadmap 2030. Right, so we'll discuss about what is this India innovation roadmap 2030, and also we discuss something about Bharat Innovates 2026. Right, so let's start with this particular session now. India France Summit 2026. Right, so let's start. The first important fact that we have to take into consideration: Prime Minister Modi landed in Nice on 14th June. Then the President of France Emmanuel Macron and the Prime Minister of India Mr. Narendra Modi jointly inaugurated jointly inaugurated Bharat Innovates 2026 in France. Now, what is this Bharat Innovates 2026 or Bharat Innovates, which was launched in France? So basically, Bharat Innovates is an initiative of Ministry of Education. The second important fact that you have to take into consideration is which particular ministry is responsible for this. So this is a joint initiative. It is launched by Ministry of Education, and it will feature approximately 120 Indian innovators. It will feature how many innovators? How many innovators under Bharat Innovations 2026? So there will be total 120 Indian innovators. Right? It will feature 120 Indian innovators, 15 higher educational institutions, and basically the Prime Minister of our country has requested, all the major educational institutions in France to open their campus in India. Right, now moving on to the next important point. The next important aspect related to this particular Bharat Innovations 2026 or Bharat Innovates 2026 is that 120 startup would be selected from India for Bharat Innovates 2026. Right, 120 startups will be selected. So the next important point can be number of startups. So 120 startups from India would be selected to participate in the Bharat Innovations 2026. The main objective of this Bharat Innovations or Bharat Innovates 2026 is to basically uh, stable to position India as a key innovation hub for multiple projects, right? To to give emphasis on make in India initiatives more, and also India will be established, or India would be positioned as a deep tech accelerator. Deep tech accelerator, that India, in earlier decades, India used to be a receiver of the global tech, but now in the last one decade things have changed substantially, set by the government of India, and now India is basically a platform, or India is a country which attracts a lot of investment in the uh, innovation sector, and also India is contributing a lot in the global innovations. And one of the most important product that we have given to the global economy is UPI, right? So UPI is one of them. Now moving on to the next important point, this particular year 2026 has been declared as year of innovations, year of innovations. So that is one important aspect that you have to keep in mind, that 2026 2026 has been declared as India France year of innovations. So this particular summit, this particular bilateral meeting of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Emmanuel Macron is basically taking place before the 52nd G7 summit, which is scheduled to take place in France. And on the sidelines of this India-France summit, Indian Prime Minister will also meet Mr. Donald Trump, and they will be meeting after almost 16, 17 months. Last they met in February 2025, and we know this at this point of time. United States of America is a very important partner for every country in the world because of their continuous involvement in the West Asian conflict, and we are expected now. United States of America is expected to sign a peace deal with Iran if Israel stops bombing southern Lebanon. Right. So these are the few important facts related to this particular news item which you should know. Now moving on to the next point. Moving on to the next point, which you which is actually very important from the examinations perspective, and it is a new framework that India has adopted. And what is this? What is the name of this framework? So the title which has been given to this framework is basically Innovation Roadmap 2030, and established a dialogue on economic security during bilateral talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron. Now, the next important point, students, which you should remember, that India and France have decided to accelerate negotiations related to free trade agreement, right? This is another important aspect that you should remember, that India is also trying to accelerate a talk or a bilateral negotiations related to a free trade agreement with France. Now we have signed free trade agreement with almost 22 to 23 members, and France could be the next one, Canada could be the next one, right? And free trade agreement, we know, is very important for India's development, for our objective to become a $30 trillion economy by 2047. Now multiple agreements were signed between these two countries, and one of the most important aspect which was highlighted by India, and which was basically cited by India during this particular summit, was basically the topic which we have discussed 2 to 3 days back, and the topic is Shanti Act 2025. And what was Shanti Act 2025? So basically, students, Shanti Act is one important piece of legislation which has opened India's nuclear energy sector for private companies, right? So India is also making sufficient policy changes to attract more and more foreign investment, right? So these are the three important aspects related to this particular summit जिन्हें आपको याद रखना है. भारत Innovates 2026. 2026 has been declared as India France Year of Innovation. Then the second one is Innovation Roadmap 2030, which is a kind of security dialogue which has been adopted by both these countries. And the third one is India's contribution in the global innovation, right? Earlier, India used to be a recipient of global innovations and global, technologies. But in 2026, or in last one decade, India has become a contributor in the global innovation era. Now, moving on to the next important news that we have to discuss is basically it can be a good news for multiple countries all around the world, but we don't have a clarity on this particular point at on this particular issue at this point of time. And what is this current issue? It is related to a peace deal. It's related to a truce between Iran and United States of America. The deal was supposed to, you know, was executed on 14th June, that was Sunday. But again, Israel's have started bombing southern Lebanon. Because of that, this peace deal could not be executed. And Donald Trump is not very much happy. Is not he actually is he's quite angry with the Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, because a lot depends upon Benjamin Netanyahu that what kind of approach he will adopt towards southern Lebanon. Until and unless Israel stops bombing southern Lebanon, you cannot expect a truce in the West Asian conflict. And for the global economy as well, how fast global economy is going into recession, West Asian conflict is very important for us to understand. Now, so this is one important aspect that we have to, we have to discuss. And not only that, the second point is, if you look at all the statistics which is available at this point of time, we know the importance of Strait of Hormuz, that it is responsible for almost 20% of the global oil supply, and how it is affecting the global economy. Every country has to spend more to purchase crude oil. So once this particular issue is sorted, once there is a peace in West Asia, you could expect the prices of crude oil will go down sharply, right? So these are the two important things that we have discussed on page number one. And again, there was a sinking Indian vessel off coast Oman, and all the sailors and all the entire Indian crew has been rescued successfully. So that is one important aspect. Now moving on to the third one, page number 3. So another protest of Cockroach Janta Party in Bangalore. The protest was, has witnessed some, great participation. Prakash Raj, actor, participated. Sonam Wangchuk also participated, and a lot of individuals, the supporters of Cockroach Janta Party, also participated. Now, world needs inclusive, human-centric tech, said by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. So we know this, that India has been giving so much of emphasis on, tech, ह्यूमन सेंट्रिक टेक. जब हमारे कंट्री में हम लोगों ने AI इम्पैक्ट समिट जब ऑर्गेनाइज किया, तो उसमें भी जो उसके 3 सूत्रास थे, उसमें क्या था? पीपल, प्लैनेट एंड प्रोग्रेस. सो द मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव, एंड इंडिया हैज ऑलवेज एडवोकेटेड फॉर अ ह्यूमन सेंट्रिक टेक, एंड द सेम थिंग हैज बीन asserted by the Prime Minister of India while inaugurating Bharat Innovates 2026 in Nice, France. Now, you will see a lot of examples which India have, cited. The first one is Shanti Act, that how it has opened its entire nuclear energy sector for the private players. Then also India's successful landing of Chandrayaan 3 on southern pole of the moon. And with the successful landing of Chandrayaan 3 on the southern pole of the moon, we became the first country, right? So in last one decade, as said by the Prime Minister Modi, India has contributed a lot in the global innovation sector, and also it is attracting, or it is contributing a lot. Now moving on to the next point. Army unveils new uniform policy, phases out colonial era practices. So basically, the Indian Army has, jointly or it has revised dress codes, and it has it has received, or it has got a new dresses for various forces, and these changes are basically introduced to phase out the colonial era mindset, colonial era practices. So this is just one important aspect of more indigenization of the our army. Now Abhishek Banerjee is continuously grilled by criminal investigation department of West Bengal. He has been continuously questioned by criminal investigation department of West Bengal in a case related to the forgery of a MLA's signature, right? Then in another setback for Trinamool Congress, finally 20 rebel Trinamool Congress MPs of Trinamool Congress have finally merged with a political party known as NCPI, National Citizens Party of India. It is, I guess, it is uh, now they will be recognized as a a different faction, and they will merge themselves with a political party. So now, out of 29 MPs which Trinamool Congress had in Lok Sabha, they will have only 9 MPs, 20 have already joined, and there are rumors that 2 more will join. So now they will constitute approximately 75% of the entire strength. And with this particular, disaffection, or with this particular approach, you could understand the kind of, dissatisfaction towards Mamta Banerjee and Abhishek Banerjee. People were not happy with the working style of Mamta Banerjee and Abhishek Banerjee, and after the elections in West Bengal, this thing become quite visible, right? Now coming back to this particular, the hidden history of the Thai Bharat connection. So let's talk about this. This article is again written by Mr. Shashi Tharoor. So you will see a lot of fancy English terms in this article. And on June 15th, we are marking the 84th anniversary of Indian National Congress, Indian National Army's birth. On 15th June, 84th anniversary of a historic meeting, we have allowed ourselves to forget which led to the birth of Indian National Army. I learned about it on a visit to Thai Bharat Cultural Lodge in Bangkok, discovering a remarkable overlooked chapter of history that reveals Thailand's vital role as a neutral strategic beacon for Indian revolutionaries seeking refuge from British colonial era. From its humble beginning as a hub for cultural and intellectual exchange, the organization evolved into a cornerstone of the Indian independence movement, providing the essential infrastructure for the formation of Indian National Army. So, it is imperative that we should discuss about Indian National Army. What are the different uh, points related to Indian National Army? So, let's start our discussion with Indian National Army. And the legacy of Indian National Army is quite relevant for academic discussion as well, because this topic is very much competent to be asked in the examination, in various entrance examination, right? So let's start with our discussion now. So so we know this Indian National Army uh, was established, or it was form Subhash Chandra Bose joined this particular organization in 1943, but it was created before that. So let's start with our discussion related to this Indian National Army. Azad Hind Fauj, basically. Indian National Army, right? So who's considered as the founding father of this Azad Hind Fauj or Indian National Army? Anyone who's considered as the founding father of Indian National Army? Founding father of Indian National Army. So Captain Mohan Singh is considered as founding father of Indian National Army. Right. Moving on to the next point. Moving on to the next point that we should discuss about this. And after this Quit India initiative was launched, uh, after this Quit India initiative was launched, a lot of Indians joined this Indian National Army. Right. So moving on to the next point. In 1943, Subhash Chandra Bose joined Indian National Army with Ras Bihari Bose, right? With Ras Bihari Bose. Now, moving on to the next point. And what was the main objective of Indian National Army? So, the main objective of the Indian National Army was to, uh, ensure that India gets independence as soon as possible, because Indian National Army was quite weak. Britishers became quite weak during World War II because of their continuous involvement and the amount of resources that they were investing in World War II. And Subhash Chandra Bose finally became the commander of Indian National Army in 1943, commander of INA in 1943. Initially, it was led by Captain Mohan Singh, but in 1943, the charge finally came to uh, Subhash Chandra Bose. Now, moving on to the next point. And who were these individuals who became, or initially who joined Indian National Army? So initially, approximately 16 to 17,000 prisoner of wars, POWs, prisoner of wars, joined Indian National Army, and that's how it all started. Now, moving on to the next point. So, the basically under the leadership of Subhash Chandra Bose, the second phase of Indian National Army started altogether, and in 1943. Subhash Chandra Bose gave a very famous slogan, "तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आज़ादी दूंगा." Give me blood, I'll give you freedom. Now, moving on to the next point. Initially the headquarter of Indian National Army was in it was basically operated in 1944. The headquarter was shifted to Burma, क्योंकि इंडिया से तो ये लोग वैसे भी ऑपरेट नहीं कर सकते थे, क्योंकि ब्रिटिशर्स ने पूरी तरीके से क्रैकडाउन कर रखा था, तो इसीलिए 1944 में जो इसका हेडक्वार्टर था वो बर्मा रंगून में शिफ्ट कर लिया गया. टिल 1937 बर्मा वाज पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया, बट इन 1937 बर्मा वाज क्रिएटेड एज अ सेपरेट कंट्री, राइट. So these are the few points related to the Indian National Army which are extremely important for your examination. Now moving on to the next point. तो अभी ये पूरा का पूरा जो article, it talks about how the relations between India and Thailand, and how Thailand played a very important role for Indian National Army. It provided a platform to them. Now moving on to the next point, moving on to the next article, the 7-point IQ opportunity for Indian children. Again, we don't have to discuss many details of this particular article. Now, for decades, India's early childhood agenda has focused on ensuring that children survive early childhood, reducing under 5 mortality from 43 in 2012 to 32 in 2020. With sufficient inputs invested towards the health, nutrition, immunization, and sanitation condition, the Anganwadi system reflects these priorities at a scale. Approximately 8 crore children 8 crore children receive supplementary nutrition, growth monitoring, and health services. So basically, the cognitive facilities of Indian children can improve, and this is the perfect opportunity for India, because the kind of investment we are making in the early child care of children is very important. आंगनवाड़ी हो जाए, फिर चाहे वो मिड डे मील स्कीम हो जाए, 0 to 6 बेसिकली आंगनवाड़ी कवर करता है, फिर 6 to 14 प्राइमरी स्कूल और जूनियर स्कूल में जो एजुकेशन है गवर्नमेंट वो प्रोवाइड करती है, एंड अंडर राइट टू एजुकेशन फ्री एंड कंपल्सरी एजुकेशन इज द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द स्टेट, कि 6 से 14 के एज ग्रुप के बीच में जो लोग हैं उनको फ्री एंड कंपल्सरी एजुकेशन प्रोवाइड करे. कैन इंडिया प्रोटेक्ट इट्स सी फेयरर्स इन गल्फ? So recently, United States of America has attacked 3 Indian ships, right? And these ships are attacked by the US Navy. And when we talk about these 3 ships are basically Marivex, Stabilo and Jalveer. So Marivex or Stabilo, Marivex or Jalveer पर जो attack हुआ उसमें no one was injured, no one was harmed, but on attack on Stabilo ship which was heading towards China, and the claim made by the United States of America was that basically these ships have violated the directions given by the US Navy, because there is an absolute naval blockade in Strait of Hormuz. Defying the directions given by the US Navy has led to these outcomes. And on that attack which took place on Setabalo, 3 Indian seafarers lost their lives, and after that India took a strong cognizance of this, and it lodged it lodged a very strong protest with the India's Deputy Chief of Mr. Jason Meeks. Right now, the point here that we have to discuss: can India protect its seafarers in international waters? Right, because we don't know what will happen with the reference to the Strait of Hormuz, what will happen. But again, protecting Indian seafarers by India, is it possible that India can do certain things to protect its seafarers? Let's talk about those things now. So at this point of time, there are approximately 20,000 seafarers or officers who are stranded in the Strait of Hormuz because of the current West Asian conflict. Now, the second point is approximately, uh, 23,000 Indian seafarers are basically serving in the Gulf region. Again, another important fact, but you don't have to remember this fact. Now, the issue that we have to discuss here is, can India protect its seafarers in the international waters? तो अभी उसको हम थोड़ा सा डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. Marivex was sanctioned by the US in December 2025 for Iranian connection. Setablo has been flagged by the US non-profit advocacy organization United Against Nuclear Iran for alleged Iranian links. US sanctions are not binding on any other country besides the US, although the US Treasury Department sanction makes it difficult for the companies associated with the concerned ship to access the financial system and other business transactions. So ultimately, the idea is that if US is sanctioning some ship, or it is sanctioning a particular commercial vessel, then those sanctions are only restricted to the United States of America. There is no other impact of that, right? But at the same point of time, अभी रशिया का भी एक शिप था जिसको सैंक्शन कर दिया यूनाइटेड किंगडम ने ना. तो अभी आपको बस इतना याद रखना है स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ पर, कि जब भी हम यूएस के यूनिलैटरल सैंक्शंस की बात करते हैं, दो सैंक्शंस आर ओनली रिस्ट्रिक्टेड टू यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका, बट देयर इम्पैक्ट इज इवेंचुअली ह्यूज, क्योंकि यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका का जो dominance है, that is huge, right? So that is one unsaid disadvantage when the United States of America sanction some ship or a country or a commercial vessel. Now, जितने भी ये ships थे, all these 3 ships were foreign flagged ship. None of them was Indian flagged ship, but each and every ship has certain links with India, whether it's about the origin, whether it's about ownership, whether it's about management or seafarers on the deck. Right now, in merchant shipping, ships are often registered in little known nations with no infrastructure to rigorously supervise and monitor ships. Popular FOCs include Panama, Marshall Island, Liberia and Guinea-Bissau. Such FOCs are also popular among ships transporting Russian and Iranian oil. And the other reason why these ships are registered in some not so famous countries or not some known destinations, because of them some tax issues as well, right? क्योंकि ये tax heaven countries हैं तो यहाँ पर tax उतना ज़्यादा होता नहीं है. Yet technically an Indian flag ship will provide legal sanction for possible action. The US during the Iran-Iraq war ordered many ships to change their flag to the US so it could legally escort the ships in and out of the Strait of Hormuz, but the Indian Navy has acted against Houthis and Somalian pirates to help Indian seafarers on board foreign flagged ships. So now the other important issue that we have to understand, that it is it is very easy to protect a ship when there is an attack by pirates or some militant organization. जैसे हाउदीज इज अ मिलिटेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और पायरेट्स वगैरह जो वो अगर अटैक करें तो आपकी नेवी जाकर के उनको प्रोटेक्ट कर सकती है. बट व्हाट विल हैपन इफ अ फॉरेन नेवी is attacking commercial vessels which are basically carrying Indian individuals or Indian citizens. Now further, Marvex and Jalveer were often serving Indian ports at facilitating India's enormous oil needs. Soon after the ceasefire was announced in early April, Mavericks headed out of the Strait of Hormuz to call on Mangalore. Jalveer is a bitumen carrier, a special type of ship that carries tar bitumen popular in laying Indian roads. Last week of April, the US Navy boarded Tiffany, a sanctioned very large crude carrier in the Indian Ocean past Sri Lanka. The ship had an Indian crew. This week, UK also Symmetus इंग्लिश चैनल में एक शिप था जिसको बेसिकली क्या किया, यूके फोर्सेस ने उसको सीज करने का ट्राई किया, सीज, और उस पर यूके की जो फोर्सेस थी वो पहुंच चुकी थी. और उस पर बेसिकली यूके फोर्सेस क्यों पहुंची, बिकॉज उस शिप पर ऐसा अलेज्ड लिंक था कि वो रशिया के जो ड्रग कार्टेल्स हैं उनसे उसका डायरेक्ट लिंक है, राइट. सो India did launch Operation Sankalp to protect merchant ships against Houthi attacks. Indian Navy and Coast Guard intervened to protect our merchant ships in 2024. India take action against Somalian pirates. Now, when we talk about the nodal agency to, look after this entire international context of shipping is International Maritime Organization. So let's discuss something about International Maritime Organization as well. International Maritime Organization. So there are a few points related to International Maritime Organization which you should know. और अभी हम लोगों ने जब BBNJ ट्रीटी के बारे में कवर किया था तो वहां पर भी हमने इंटरनेशनल मैरीटाइम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के बारे में कुछ चीज़ें कवर की थी, राइट. इंटरनेशनल मैरीटाइम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज अ बेसिकली स्पेशलाइज्ड एजेंसी ऑफ यूनाइटेड नेशंस. नाउ मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, and currently India is a chair of category B of International Maritime Organization. So it is a specialized agency of United Nations. तो अभी कुछ पॉइंट हम फटाफट डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. International Maritime Organization. Now, it was established in 1948. It was established in 1948. And when it was established in 1948, its name was Governmental Maritime Consultative Organization. Now, in which year it was renamed as International Maritime Organization? The next important question, in which year it was renamed as International Maritime Organization? So it was renamed as International Maritime Organization in 1982, specialized agency of the United Nations. And currently it has 176 members. Currently it has 176 members. And India is an esteemed member of this organization since 1959. India is a esteemed member of this organization since 1959. Now moving on to the next point which we should remember related to this particular organization. Now where is the headquarter of this particular organization is located? Anyone? Headquarter of International Maritime Organization. Now we know all these information established in 1948 as Governmental Maritime Consultative Organization, renamed as International Maritime Organization in 1982. But there are total 176 members, and India is a esteemed member since 1959. Now most of the international organizations are based in Geneva, Switzerland, or Paris or New York. But when it comes to International Maritime Organization, you should remember this: the headquarter of this particular organization is located in headquarter of this organization is located in लंदन. राइट, कहाँ पे इसका हेडक्वार्टर है? लंदन में इसका हेडक्वार्टर है, तो आप प्लीज ये भी पॉइंट याद रखिएगा. नाउ मूविंग ऑन, अब भी इसका इंटरनेशनल मैरीटाइम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का व्हाट इज द रेलेवेंस ऑफ इंटरनेशनल मैरीटाइम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. सो द रेलेवेंस ऑफ इंटरनेशनल मैरीटाइम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज टू बेसिकली streamline the movement of ships in the international water. Now moving on to the next point. अभी business section में हम चल रहे हैं, तो as usual in business section we don't have things which are very much relevant for your examination, but students, at the same time, you should know that this peace deal which is about to be get executed. अभी इसमें हमें एक चीज बहुत अच्छे से याद रखनी है, और ये चीज ये है बेसिकली कि इंडिया ने, सॉरी, अमेरिका ने ईरान के साथ में एक न्यूक्लियर डील साइन की थी in 2015, right? And when Barack Obama was the president of United States of America, 44th president, right? And after Donald Trump became the 45th president of United States of America, उन्होंने unilaterally क्या किया था, उस डील से विड्रॉ कर लिया था. And after that is Iran started enriching uranium at a very fast pace. अब ओबामा ने ये कहा है कि the current deal which United States of America is to sign with Iran will not improve the 2015 pact that he signed with Iran. So we know this, the kind of person Donald Trump is. He's basically not concerned much about the international peace or nothing. He's just doing things which he wants are good for his country. उनको ऐसा लगना जरूरी है. That's it. That's the only consideration. Now in the sports section again, India has won their T20 opening match against Pakistan, and it is India's biggest win against Pakistan. So nothing new. As usual, the World Cup, football World Cup is going on. But again, now this is the practice sheet that we have to cover, and it is related to New START treaty. Right. So let's start our discussion with New START treaty. तो स्टार्ट का फुल फॉर्म प्लीज आप लोग याद रखिएगा. स्ट्रेटेजिक आर्म्स रिडक्शन ट्रीटी. On which date? So this treaty was signed between Russia and United States of America. So on which date did the New START treaty reach the end of its extended term and expire? So for question number 1, we have 4 options: 3rd February 2026, 5th February 2026, 1st January 2026. 3rd January, February, 4th February, 5th February और 1st January 2026 किस डेट को ये स्टार्ट ट्रीटी एक्सपायर हुई थी? सो फॉर क्वेश्चन नंबर 1, स्टूडेंट्स, द करेक्ट ऑप्शन इज ऑप्शन सी. New START treaty expired on 5th of February 2026. So this is the correct option for question number 1. Now we'll move to question number 2. And the main objective of this START treaty was to limit the number of nuclear warheads, right? Because United States of America and Russia are two leading न्यूक्लियर कंट्रीज जिनके पास में सबसे ज़्यादा न्यूक्लियर वॉरहेड है. रशिया के पास में अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 5459 है, और अमेरिका के पास में अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 5040 के आसपास में न्यूक्लियर वॉरहेड्स है. यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका का शायद नंबर थोड़ा सा वैरी भी कर सकते हैं. यू कैन रीचेक इट. नाउ अंडर द न्यू स्टार्ट ट्रीटी ईच साइड वाज लिमिटेड टू हाउ मेनी डिप्लॉयड स्ट्रेटेजिक वॉरहेड्स? 1550, 70, 800 और 2200. How many nuclear warheads could each country deploy? uh, रशिया और यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका कितने कितने न्यूक्लियर वॉरहेड्स को डिप्लॉय कर सकते थे? क्वेश्चन नंबर ऑप्शन ए 1550, option B 700, option C 800, and option D 2200. Which is the correct option for question number 2? So for question number 2 students, the correct option is option A 1550. Maximum 1550 nuclear warheads deploy कर सकते थे दोनों countries, United States of America and Russia. So this is the correct option for question number 2. Now न्यू स्टार्ट ट्रीटी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, फेब्रवरी का टॉपिक है, तो इसको थोड़ा सा आप एक बार अच्छे से कवर कर लीजिएगा. दीज आर द 10 क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम दिस टॉपिक एंड दीज 10 क्वेश्चंस विल गिव यू अ ब्रीफ इनसाइट about this particular topic. Now, which body was established under New START Treaty as its standing implementation body to address compliance issues? So, which particular body was created कि कोई भी compliance issue अगर होगा उसको solve करने के लिए? Option is Strategic Stability Commission, option B Bilateral Consultative Commission, option C Nuclear Verification Group, or option D Joint Implementation Committee. Which is the correct option for question number 3? So for question number 3 students, the correct option is option B. Bilateral Consultative Commission was created as an implementation body to resolve any compliance issue. जो भी न्यू स्टार ट्रीटी के प्रोविजंस थे, अगर उनका कोई कंप्लायंस रिलेटेड इशू रहता है तो उसको रिजॉल्व करने के लिए अंडर न्यू स्टार ट्रीटी बायलैटरल कंसल्टेटिव कमीशन वाज established. Right, now we'll move to question number 4. The interim agreement on strategic offensive arms and the ABM treaty were signed in which year? Now ABM. Now what is this ABM? ABM treaty क्या थी? Anyone? ABM treaty. And ABM treaty was signed in 1972. Right? ABM क्या होता है नॉर्मली? नॉर्मल सेंस में ABM इज एंटी बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल. सो एंटी बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल ट्रीटी, एंटी बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल treaty signed in 1972. So the interim agreement on strategic offensive arms and the ABM treaty were signed in which year? 1969, 71, 72 और 79. तो कब साइन हुई थी ABM? तो मैंने आपको बताया दिया 1972. It was signed in 1972. So for question number 4 students, the correct answer is 1972. 26th of May 1972 को interim agreement sign हुआ था related to the offensive arms. So for question number 4, the correct option is 1972, 26th of May 1972. Which treaty resulted in the elimination of 2,692 ground launched ballistic and cruise missiles? SALT 2, START 1, SALT or INF treaty? Which is the correct option for question number 5? And what is INF treaty? Anyone? INF treaty का भी full form is extremely important. So INF stands for INF stands for Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces. Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces. It was signed in 1987. Now you just have to remember that INF 1987 resulted in the elimination of 2,692 ground launched ballistic missile. अभी हम लोगों ने anti ballistic missile treaty के बारे में पढ़ा. Now it's INF treaty. So now moving on to question number 6. In June 2002, the United States unilaterally withdrew from which landmark agreement? SALT, ABM treaty, SALT 1 or SALT or START 2. किस ट्रीटी से जून 2002 में यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका ने यूनिलैटरली विड्रॉ किया था? सॉल्ट, एबीएम, सॉल्ट 1 और स्टार्ट 2. So for question number 6 student, the correct option is ABM treaty, which came into existence in 1970. You guys are late today. I have to clear CLAT. You guys are late humanities stream. Hello sir, I am in class 12th and I didn't study in 11th. I am not good in English reading and writing. Please advise me what should I do. I'll advise you at the end of the class. Don't leave this class Akash Kamboj, right? We'll discuss it at the end of the class. So anti ballistic missile treaty जो 1972 में साइन हुई थी, उसके 30 years के बाद यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका ने यूनिलैटरली विड्रॉ कर लिया था इस ट्रीटी से टू डेवलप मोर एडवांस्ड एंटी बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल्स. राइट नाउ क्वेश्चन नंबर 7. The Moscow Treaty is another name for which strategic arms reduction agreement? SALT, START 1, New START or SALT 2? So Moscow Treaty किस एक और अग्रीमेंट का नाम है, आर्म्स रिडक्शन अग्रीमेंट का नाम है? SALT, स्ट्रेटेजिक ऑफेंसिव रिडक्शन ट्रीटी. So Moscow Treaty is a popular name of which treaty? So option A is the correct option. SALT. SALT means Strategic Offensive Reduction Treaty. Now moving on to the next point. For how many years was the New START Treaty extended in February 2021? So it is quite obvious that it expired on 5th of February 2026. Earlier it was supposed to expire in 2021, but in 2021 it was decided to extend this treaty for another 5 years, and in 2026 both countries avoided to extend this start new start treaty. और इसका मेन रीजन ये भी है कि रशिया इज कॉन्टिन्यूसली इन्वॉल्व इन द यूक्रेन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, तो वो ऐसी कोई भी ट्रीटी साइन अभी नहीं करना चाहेंगे विच कैन लिमिट देयर कैपेबिलिटीज ऑफ domestic, or which can limit their capacity, or limit, or which can limit their defensive infrastructure. How many annual on-site inspections were permitted under the new start verification architecture? Now this information is very important कि कितने on-site inspections को permit किया गया था under the new start verification architecture, 12, 15, 18 or 20. So for question number 9 students, the correct option is option C, 18 on-site inspections were permitted. 18 on-site inspections were permitted under the new start treaty. Now we have question number 10, and this is the last question. Which country is notably not a part of to a new start and faces no treaty based nuclear limits? Ab which country is not the part? France, China, यूनाइटेड किंगडम और इंडिया. सो ऐसे बहुत सारी जो ट्रीटीज रहती हैं उसका चाइना बेसिकली पार्ट नहीं रहता है. सो चाइना इज द करेक्ट ऑप्शन फॉर क्वेश्चन नंबर 10. नाउ वी हैव अ क्वेश्चन. I'm in 11th class and I didn't study in 11th. So you don't have to study. I mean, you should study in your class 11th as well. But let's understand, you will be appearing for CLAT 2027 exactly after how many days? I guess 175 days. After 175 days, you will be appearing for CLAT 2027. And one thing you should keep in your mind, that you can read your reading. You can increase your reading speed by reading a lot of literature. And by literature I mean you can read your academic content book, you can read your course material related to CLAT, you can read a lot of reading comprehensions जिससे आपकी reading speed बढ़ जाएगी. Second important aspect would be identify your weak areas. Weak areas आपका quantitative technique हो सकता है, English हो सकता है, right? तो उन particular उस पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट में भी कौन कौन से ऐसे एरियाज हैं जिसमें आपको स्पेसिफिकली प्रॉब्लम है, कि टोन आइडेंटिफाई करने में, इंग्लिश का है तो अगर टोन आइडेंटिफाई करने में, मीनिंग समझने में प्रॉब्लम होती है, आपकी रीडिंग स्पीड तेज नहीं है. हर एक इंपॉर्टेंट वीक एरिया का एक अपना तरीका होता है उसको ठीक करने का. बस आपको ये आइडेंटिफाई करना है कि आपके वीक एरियाज कौन कौन से, और अगर आप ये आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर पा रहे कि आपके वीक एरियाज कौन है, टेक सम हेल्प फ्रॉम एनी एक्सपर्ट. एंड बाय एक्सपर्ट वी मीन आप हम लोग की हेल्प ले सकते हैं. आपको जो भी इंसान लगता है कि दैट ही और शी नोज मी वेल, तो वो मुझे गाइड कर सकता है. एंड द थर्ड इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज सेल्फ confidence is extremely relevant when it comes to clearing any sort of examination. I mean, having some common preparation is very much needed to crack an examination. एक certain set of preparation होना जरूरी है, but एक confidence है that yes I can do it. We still have 175 days, and 175 days are more than enough to crack CLAT 2027. So if you have decided, Akash, that you have to clear this exam, you should be extremely you should be extremely focused कि अभी हम क्या क्या चीज़ें ऐसी हैं जो अपने एग्जाम के लिए हम कर सकते हैं। बाकी बी रेगुलर, बी कंसिस्टेंट, नथिंग बीट्स डिसिप्लिन, नथिंग बीट्स कंसिस्टेंसी, राइट? So these are the two aspects which you should keep in your mind, and rest everything will be taken care of. So this is all about today's analysis. आज बहुत सारे लोग लेट है, so tomorrow we'll start at 7:45 in the morning, and tomorrow we'll have a quiz on G7 submit. So please G7 submit के बारे में एक brief background आप लोग देख करके आएगा, so that we can have a more engaging class, right? Thank you so much, guys. Take a good care of yourself and people around you. That's it from my side. We'll see you tomorrow. Till then.